Thank you, everyone. Lovely to see a lot of you lovely people here. Right. If anyone's seen any of the interviews and podcasts I do, I always like to come to these things and bring evidence. I don't really want anyone to take my word for anything. So, my website is capillarywave.com, and if those of you that are interested would like to follow along with this discussion to see all the evidence that I provided, if you go to capillarywave.com on your phone, from the home page there you'll find the events section, and if you click on WTF, you'll get this webpage that I'm about to talk about now, that again contains the evidence. So, without further ado, they're a bit strict on time around here, so I better get going. Oh, let's put the glasses on, otherwise I'm stuffed, aren't I? Right. Hello, everyone. Hello. Hey up. It's great to be here and give this talk for those of you searching for solutions. And I target this at farmers, but it applies to citizens. And I know Nick was very keen on hearing about solutions. So hopefully we can all gather something from some of the journey I've been on. For those that don't know me, I'm called Clive Edwards, and you can follow along this talk by searching for the link displayed at the front of the stage. I've already gone through that WTF festival, you'll find it here, there. I always like to come to podcasts and interviews with facts and evidence, and today is no different. I never want anyone to take my word for what I'm saying, so the webpage will have lots of support and evidence for the main points which I mentioned in this talk. For those that don't know me, briefly, I'm the guy at Somerset that built a farm without permission. Thank you. This brought me into a planning battle with a local council. I eventually became very good at understanding the system of law and governance through this planning battle. So much so that I went around Britain helping farmers and smallholders against their local councils at court. Some of you will be aware that this culminated in the famous planning case of beef farmer Mr. Robert Fiddler down in Surrey, who built a castle behind hay bales. I was tasked with keeping Mr. Fiddler out of prison after Reigate and Banstead Borough Council applied for a committal hearing at the High Court to have Mr. Fiddler committed to prison. We kept him out of prison. So I've been about a bit. I've been to courts for many years, and I've tested the system very hard. I know its limits, and I know how the state controls citizens. And I also understand the solutions to many of the problems that citizens and farmers are facing. I'm a simple guy, and when I was trying to work this system out of law and governance for my own legal issues, I had to do so logically. For me, researching law and governance has to be A plus B equals C, or I could not trust the information. There's a lot of crazy theories out there on the law, and for me, they do not pass the ABC test. In my battle, I also had to have good evidence, because without good evidence, you do not have a case or a defence. You only have an opinion, and you cannot beat the Crown with an opinion. When my legal problems with the council and HMRC initially started, I didn't know which way to turn. I had no idea of the legal game that I was now involved in. Neither did I know what to do for the best. It was like the Crown dropped me in the middle of the ocean and nobody knew if I could swim, not even me. When I was dropped in at the deep end, I found out that I instinctively knew how to doggy paddle and stay afloat. After 10 years or so of battling the legal system, I have become an Olympic swimmer, so to speak. I have become so good at swimming that the Crown gave up trying to drown me. I feel that I have found the solutions to many of the problems that citizens and farmers are facing today. It seems to me that the public and farmers are very much in the position that I found myself in at the start of my legal battles against the local council and HMRC when they came for me, not knowing which way to turn for the best. And I feel that a lot of the public feel the same. Nicola has said that she's organised the event with the aim of sharing solutions to the government problems that we're all facing, particularly the farmers, and we all need the farmers to do well. We all need food. I am involved in a roundtable after this talk with some farmers. Oh, there's a mic. Hello, still there? And if the information which I speak about here is understood, then I know that the farmers can begin to win their battles against the government authority, as I myself have done. Part of what I would like to do today is to try and explain what I have learned about this government game that we all have to play, and that we're all involved in at some level, whether we like it or not. What I will be discussing today in this short talk are some of the key factors which farmers will need to understand if they wish to break free of state control. When I came to understand some of these key aspects of the legal system, the controllers went away and left me alone. That can happen for you and your families too. Many of you, the players in this government game, may not be sure of the rules which you are supposed to abide by. You may not be sure which game the government is playing and why the goalposts keep moving. Well, if you allow me to be your guide today, perhaps we can begin to walk out of this maze of government control together. I believe that when I explain one or two of these key aspects that the government rely on to control you, the solutions to this government problem will hopefully become apparent to you. I have limited time here, and there's no way that I can explain the system of law and governance in 1 hour, but I can certainly show you some of the key factors that many UK citizens simply do not understand and are ignorant of, which is precisely what the government rely upon to keep you controlled, our ignorance. As your self-appointed guide to how the legal system works today, I'd like to explain what we can do to escape that government control, and it's easier than you might think. Believe it or not, to win, you only have to change your mind. Right now, that sentence might sound strange, but bear with me. To escape government control, first of all, we need to understand what game we're playing, the rules we're playing by, and which pitch it's located at that we're playing on. Because playing this game against the state can have dire consequences if we get it wrong. I myself was looking at total financial ruin, imprisonment, and a 60 grand claim from HMRC and facing 9 planning enforcement notices from the local council. Each notice is an indictable offence, which means unlimited fines and possible Crown Court and possible prison if the fines aren't paid. The game that the government want us to play is completely owned by the Crown. They own the pitch, the rule book and the referees. The Crown, however, do have an Achilles heel. They need our consent to play the game, which we freely give in most cases, and they themselves have to abide by rules. These rules are written in a different book, a book that is accessible to us, the Bible. That is the ultimate rule book for all law and governance. The main weapon that the state use against us is our own beliefs, our own convictions, our own mind. But once our beliefs change, their game is over. To keep us from understanding how powerful we are and the truth of what I have just stated, the government forced us to send our children to government-run schools, who educate our children and us into believing that we are government players on the government-owned farm. And they keep us distracted so that we don't have time to figure out the rules. I feel that's why school children are called pupils, because they are trained to see things in the same way, and therefore will share the same beliefs, which are the beliefs that the state need us to have, so that they can maintain their illusion of control over us. It can be very powerful when we learn to see things differently, and that is what I had to do to win. I had to look at things differently, and this talk may well be very different from others you have heard, but I always bring the evidence. So once I figured out the rules, I could then see how this government game was being played. I found out that we can be very powerful if we only understand what is going on. I would like to explain a small aspect of that game here today, if you'll lend me your ears. Now for a bit of audience participation. Let's play a game. But there's a downside to this game. If you break a rule or lie, the Crown get to keep your car, your house, your farm, and your children. Everything. Remember, all you have to do is not tell a single lie or break a single rule of this government game that we have all consented to play. You're all honest, right? Yes. Righto, we'll see. Then you've got nothing to worry about. Before we get going, I believe there are a few here from outside the UK. Is that right? Got people here from outside the UK? Okay. So just answer with a show of hands. How many here are from outside of the UK? And again, just answer with a show of hands. Oh, hang on.
They're not getting it, are they?
Oh, by the way, by the way, these rules on this game applies to the entire English-speaking world and beyond. So let's start with a show of hands. How many here live in the UK? How many here work in the UK? How many here farm in the UK? Interesting. I noted that, John. Okay, thank you. I need you to remember those answers to those questions, and we'll gather the results later and see whether you get to keep your car and your children. So, 4 more questions which will expose government control. Playing a government-owned game against the government can be tough. They own the game, the players and the referees, as we've said. So can we win this game? Yes, we can win the game. But let's agree upon a few of the basic rules, but important rules about this game that the government have got us playing and losing so badly. These following questions will highlight some of the important facts which all play a factor in how the state controls you. How many of these answers to the questions do you know? These are yes or no answers. Keep a mental note of your answers. So number 1, does a birth certificate prove your identity? Excuse me. Is a legal name the same as your own name? Is the Bible true? If something is a work of fiction, is it true? Bonus question. Again, keep a mental note of your answers. What is the United Kingdom? Let's get into the answers then. Answers 1, does a birth certificate prove your identity? Again, all the evidence to all this is within the associated webpage, okay? For those following online and here in the audience. So, no, a birth certificate does not prove your identity. And that's evidenced on the actual certificate itself. And most people call it by its wrong name. It's actually a certified copy of an entry. And it warns you against using it to prove your identity. So, number 2, is a legal name the same as your own name? And the answer to that is no. A legal name is created by the certified copy of an entry. And that document tells you that it's nothing to do with your identity. And a name is a key identifier. Wouldn't you agree? And I've provided a link to a lawyer which explains that the name on the birth certificate is hearsay. So that's very interesting. And I've also provided some evidence from a local council which delineates between Christian names and the legal name. So it's all there on the webpage. So, number 3, is the Bible true? Well, yes, it is. In fact, the Crown goes further. In one of its acts of parliament, the Crown states that the Bible is the infallible truth. Infallible means exempt from error in judgment, knowledge, or opinion. The Act of Parliament concerned is the Confession of Faith Ratification Act. And if you're a UK citizen, you've consented to that too. Number 5, if something is a work of fiction, is it true? A fiction is false. By definition, a fiction is a falsehood, a lie. The legal profession itself admits that legal fictions are lies. And here are some of their legal maxims which further evidence that fictions are falsehoods and lies. And maxims are recognised by the legal profession as irrefutable truths. So here's a few to note. Where truth is, fiction of law does not exist. A fiction is a rule of law that assumes something which is or may be false as true. There is no fiction without law. In other words, law provides the fiction. Fictions arise from the law, but not law from fictions. So the legal profession itself admits that legal fictions are lies. That's important. And I've included some experts from Harvard Law University and a few other places. So, the bonus question, what is the United Kingdom? Understanding this will begin to loosen the chains of your control. At law, the United Kingdom is what is known as a body politic. And you can just go do a simple search of Wikipedia, search the United Kingdom, and what will come up will be a drawing of an emblem of some heraldry, like a lion and a unicorn. You can click a little button and hear a song. It's nice. And so these things are identified. They represent what the United Kingdom is in your mind, because the United Kingdom is a legal fiction. It only exists at law. The legal fiction needs these things to represent it because it doesn't exist in reality. There's nothing to show you for the UK, so it shows you other things which conjure an image in your mind as to what the UK is. I told you this was all about your mind. This is a battle for your mind. This is why your local council is a body corporate, as evidenced in Section 2 of the Local Government Act 1972. This is why your local police are listed as a company on Business Search Directory Dun & Bradstreet. And this is why everyone who appears at court for summary and indictable offences are seen as a body corporate, as evidenced here at Section 2 of the Interpretation Act 1889. And that would, again, so I'm just a simple guy and everything has to make sense. It has to be logical. A plus B has to equal C. And to me, that makes logical sense. Because if the country, United Kingdom, is a legal fiction, then it makes sense to me, logically, that everything in it and associated with it would also have to be all legal fictions too. And it is, as the evidence proves. If you think about it, nothing that is real can exist in a fiction. That just does not work. That's not logical. The legal system works on fictions. The UK is the big fiction, and the police, councils, NHS, and other government bodies are the smaller legal fictions that work within the larger UK legal fiction. The legal system is made up of fictions, made up of lies. This is why the birth certificate does not identify anything real. It cannot, as that would not make sense. It only identifies a legal name, which is a title which can be used for UK business. The birth certificate does not identify a real people. It cannot. The birth certificate only identifies a legal fiction, a legal name, which is why the document itself warns the user not to use it as a means of identity, because it is not your identity. A people cannot live in a fiction of the UK. That does not make logical sense. But a people do exist on Britain. Britain is the name of the landmass, the reality, what God created, and the United Kingdom is a legal fiction which was created by the Crown. People created by God exist on God's earth, and legal fictions created by the state do not exist in reality, but only in our minds, as a creation of the law. As the legal maxim stated earlier, without the law there are no fictions. Persons, which are legal fictions, live in the UK. I should rephrase that. Citizens, which are legal fictions, live in the UK. People cannot. That is impossible. That is why the king wears two crowns of office. One crown for the people created by God, that's the St. Edward's crown, and the other imperial crown to govern the state-created citizens under the king's rulership. The people are ruled by God, and the UK and Commonwealth citizens are ruled by King Charles. That is also why a judge swears two oaths of office. One oath for God's people and that jurisdiction, and another oath for his UK office of state, dealing with UK citizens, persons. That is why a police officer is also a constable. Two offices for the same individual. The police officer deals with policy enforcement of the political UK body politic. And the role of constable is there to protect God's people and property. This is also repeated at local council level. This is where it gets important. Your local council has a document called a constitution. In that document, it will mention the council's dual roles of state. The council governs the electorate and is accountable to the people. Again, the electorate are the citizens that belong to the state created by the Crown. The people mentioned in your council's constitution are created by God and are under the teachings of the Bible. Your council and government are accountable to the people. It says so in their own rule book, their constitution. The council are not accountable to state citizens. Why would they be? Citizens, after all, signed up to be governed by the state and did so voluntarily. This was crucial information to me in my fight back against the local council, and helped me to help many farmers and smallholders at court against their councils. When I began to point out some of these facts to the council and quoted their own laws back at them, they started to back off, because my smallholding is built on God's green earth, as it can never exist in the UK. How can it? That would be a lie, and I can only believe that it does. Below is a section from a council's constitution which evidences everything that I have just mentioned. It highlights the two jurisdictions of state which the king, judges and police adhere to, those being the jurisdictions of the Crown citizens of the UK and the people of God at Britain. It's there in black and white in their own rules. And I've evidenced it here in this webpage, so I know, yeah, so. So in summary, did the Crown win your car, farm and children? Getting interested now, isn't it? What we have seen in evidence so far is that the certified copy of an entry cannot be used as your identity, and it does not contain your name, but a legal name which is different species of name at law. It is a creation of the state, a legal fiction which exists purely for legal purposes. Excuse me. Two, that the legal profession admit that the Bible is the infallible truth. Whether you believe it or not is irrelevant. Absolutely irrelevant. Your adversaries say it is. And by default, all UK citizens agree because they consent to be governed. You can't pick and choose which acts and statutes you want to accept. The legal profession admits that the legal fictions are lies and that fictions are not the truth. Number 4, the UK is a legal fiction. It does not exist in reality and must be believed for it to be true. Now my statement at the start of this talk might be beginning to make some sense. To be free, you only need to change your mind. Now, can you remember the questions at the start? How many of you will still have your car, farm and children after we go through these questions again? Let us remind ourselves of the questions. How many live in the UK? Well, there's quite a few who put their hand up, which I was surprised about, actually. How many work in the UK? And who farms in the UK? Thank you, John. We have seen in evidence that you cannot work in the UK, you cannot live in the UK, and you cannot farm in the UK. Those are all lies. Those of you who answered yes are involved in the lie. The bottom line is, that is why the state gets to take your stuff and throw you in jail, because you lied. The United Kingdom does not exist in reality and only exists at law and in your own mind. Those are just the facts of the matter and has been proven. I'm sorry to say that those who claim that they live, farm and work in the UK lied, and now you can see why, but it gets even worse. All of the things that you believe that you own are all in the UK, and all are owned under a legal name, which is not your name, as we have just evidenced. You can verify this yourself by checking your mortgage deeds and your V5 document. They both contain a legal name, which we believe is us, and we believe those legal names live at a UK postal address. That is an impossibility. A V5 document even tells you that the title is not proof of ownership, and now you know why. Because you do not own anything in the UK, the Crown does. It's their game with their rules and their referees on their pitch. So change your mind and stop playing their game. A game you cannot win. The things that you believe that you own were gained by using false details, by identifying yourself with a document that is not for identification purposes. That's fraud. The Crown got us to commit the fraud. The Bible tells us not to tell lies. And that is why the state are allowed to punish you, because you do not know who you are, what your name is, or where you live. Is it any wonder we constantly lose at court? What then is Britain? Britain is the name of a landmass. And again, you can just check this on Wikipedia. Check Wikipedia for the United Kingdom. You're not going to see the White Cliffs of Dover and the sea and the land. You're going to be given images of things that represent what the United Kingdom is. But even on Wikipedia, it will show you what Britain is, and it's an island. The landmass. That landmass was created by God, not the Crown. The Crown created the title of United Kingdom because that's all it is, a title. And God created the land named Britain. Again, I ask, can you farm in the UK? Of course not. You can only believe that you do. That is why all you need to do is change your mind. And would you Adam and Eve it? The Book of Truth has something to say about that as well. And be ye not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is good and acceptable and perfect will of God. That's Romans 12:2 for anyone that is interested. This is what I did as part of my own solution to the problems which I believed I faced from the Crown. I only believed I faced those problems. I believed the lies, the legal fictions of the state. Worse than that, I was involved in the lie too, just as some of you are that admitted to living and working in the UK. You cannot. That is a lie. That is impossible. The UK is a polity which only exists at law and not in reality. Britain is the name of the landmass. Britain is real. The land named Britain belongs to God and not the Crown. The Crown created and therefore owns everything which is legal. Titles, which are legal fictions, which are lies. God owns everything that is real. There are two very different masters for two very different jurisdictions, and the Crown stands in direct opposition to God. And if you are one of its citizens, then so do you, sadly. But you can change that. So we have a choice. Which master would you rather be under? I changed my mind a long time ago, and the Crown are no longer involved in my life. I could care less about Keir Starmer and his friends. They do not affect my life, and I will not allow them to. I wouldn't trust that bloke to muck out my chickens. I changed my mind, and it changed my life. And I did it all without marching to London. I barely left my small holding at Somerset. I held them all accountable to the law, and they listened. They had to. It's their rules. I know that this system of law and governance is perfection. It's been about for a very long time. They know how to govern people. There is nothing new under the sun. Despite what many believe, we do not live in a lawless state, and I have proven that. You can change your life without unnecessary confrontations, simply by using the law. So you should now understand the answers to these solutions. Can you exist on Britain? Can you farm on Britain? Can you work on Britain? Exactly. Let's talk about the two jurisdictions then on earth. The Crown versus God. The two jurisdictions available on earth for law and governance have been discussed earlier. Those two jurisdictions are for the people under God and citizens under the UK. This is why all of the main officers of state have two roles. The king has two crowns of office. Judges swear two oaths of office. A police constable is also a police officer. And your local council is accountable to the people, but govern the electorate. And you do not have to take my word for it. We have walked through some of the evidence here for it today. My website, capillarywave.com, has much more evidence and articles that will help you understand these important distinctions about how we're controlled. The legal system of the United Kingdom and Commonwealth is run under civil law. Civil law is Roman law. Civil law, by definition, is secularly organised. Secular means, and I quote, belonging to the state, the exclusion of belief in God from matters of ethics and morality. That's the definition of secular. We know this and we can see this with our own eyes in the world today, can't we? That's why most of you are here. Government are immoral by definition and stand in opposition to Christ. Man's secular legal system is in opposition to Christ, and now you know why. It is all based upon legal fictions. It is all based upon lies. And they admit it in their own acts, maxims, and legal papers, as I have proven many times. That is why your parking and speeding infringements are alleged. Alleged means without proof. This is why a belief and a conviction mean the same thing. They need your belief, your conviction that you did the alleged activity in the United Kingdom, which of course is impossible. The minute that you believe their allegation, you are convicted of a false belief. A remedy for a parking ticket fine is to simply ask for proof of ownership from the landowner. They cannot provide that proof because a title is not proof of ownership. It says so on your own V5 document. For a parking ticket fine, a corporate body states that you parked on their land, which is in the UK. Are you beginning to see the problems with their claim against you? Can you now see the possibility of how to defeat this claim? A parking company is a legal fiction. It does not exist. It also claims that it owns the land. It's some land in the UK, which does not exist. And now you have to pay their fine. I beat these lies with truth. You can ask the parking company to provide proof of ownership of the land. And upon proof of ownership of the land, I will settle the claim. A title is not proof of ownership, and something that does not exist, a company, cannot own something on God's earth. The legal profession know that you cannot buy and sell land. You can only sell a title because God owns the land. Remember, the Crown and the state, that the Bible is the infallible truth. And the Bible states this about the land. The land shall not be bought or sold forever. The land is mine. Do you see what happens? The Crown sells us titles to the land, and we believe that we own the land. We are wrong in both jurisdictions, because God owns the land and the Crown owns the titles, and that is why you get taxed on things, because you do not know who the owners are. You actually own nothing and never can. Once you understand this, you will not have to pay tax. If you believe that you own the land, you are both a liar and a thief in both legal and lawful jurisdictions, and that is why so many are punished. You beat lies with truth, but you cannot beat the legal lies if you are involved in the lie yourself as a state citizen, and that's the trick the Crown has pulled on us. They got us involved in the lie. So I've provided a table which describes the two jurisdictions on earth. On the website you'll find it. I run the risk of upsetting a few citizens now, but many citizens believe that putting property that they believe that they own in a trust will stop the Crown taking it. That is not true. This is why private trusts do not work against the Crown and cannot work. Again, let's use some logic. Let's see if private trusts pass the ABC test. What exactly do you believe that you are putting into a trust, and who does it really belong to? This is what the royal law, the infallible truth, states at Hebrews. For every house is builded by some man, but he that built all things is God. Claiming to put things in a trust is theft. You do not own anything. The Crown own all the titles, and God owns everything that's real. So what exactly are you trying to put into a trust and claim that you own? That's why it won't work. Well, you can't do what I did and have things in private trusts, I'll say that. Thinking that we own stuff is the cause of our problems. The Crown want us to claim it, to own it. God tells us that everything is his, but we can use everything that he created. If only we follow a few of his simple rules, like don't lie, don't make yourself a servant of another earthly king. Yet what did we do? If God owns everything, which he does, and the legal system agree he does, how can I be taxed for it? Don't come for me for tax, go see the owner. And your legal rules agree that God owns everything. The entire system of law and governance is set up under these two jurisdictions: legal state control versus God's lawful control and all of the state infrastructure. Sorry. The two jurisdictions is the legal state control versus God's lawful control. And all of the state infrastructure, ceremonies, acts of parliament and council constitutions prove this. We have evidence, some of that here today. If you are a voting citizen on the electoral register, you cannot be one of the people. To be one of the people, you have to turn back to God and relinquish state citizenship as a commoner. There is no other way. On this earth, there are two systems of governance available to us. There is nowhere else to go. You're either under the government of man or the government of Christ. Again, I've laid out the table there. I won't go through that now. So the solutions, because, it's all very well pointing out the problems, but we also need the solutions. So why is this information important? It's about freedom from UK control. And Albert Einstein said, you cannot solve a problem with the same level of consciousness that created it. In other words, you cannot solve a lie by being a liar and involved in the lie. The very fact of believing that you are a UK citizen means that you have broken the very first commandment of the Bible. Have no other gods before me. Small g God means an earthly god, a king, a judge, a ruler. This is what happened when you were elected to become involved in the body politic of the United Kingdom as one of the electorate, a citizen under a new lord. So how do I escape from being a UK citizen? First, you need to understand what the Attorney General is. The Attorney General is in charge of all of the attorneys. To attorn means to turn away from one lord to serve another. There's only two jurisdictions, remember? You left one lord, the Lord of the Bible, when you were elected to become a member of another house, the House of Commons, as a subject of an earthly lord, King Charles. Once you change your mind and can see the lies, you can rescind your membership of the state as one of its citizens and go back to being one of the people under God. If the United Kingdom is the problem and exists only in your minds, as proven, Isn't it best to leave it well alone, to change our minds, to untie ourselves from the UK? What I am talking about is complete freedom from government control, not half measures. What I discuss enables citizens to walk out of state control and return to the most powerful position that you can be in on earth. That is being one of the people. Excuse me. Talking at you quite a bit here, aren't I? But bear with me. The highest position you could be on earth is being one of the people. The council's own constitution states that they are accountable to the people, that's me, and I held them to their words. I held them to the words of their own law book, their constitution. I had to explain it to them because I don't think they've ever had anyone do that to them before. They even had lessons on their own constitution after I had a word with them in their ear. But the truth of the matter is they left me alone once I pointed it out. The very first thing that you need to do to leave state control is to notify the state that you are revoking and rescinding the legal name from the electoral register. That name on that register is the evidence of your consent to that system. I've even got the black belt barrister explaining that on my website. I've taken a clip of him explaining this as well. That is exactly what I did. First, I untied myself from the state by writing to the Attorney General and rescinding and revoking my citizenship. And then I did not ask a UK government body for anything to do with my own smallholding. I didn't ask for their permissions, like planning. I have not registered my chickens, despite having hundreds of them, and you're meant to register one now. I have not applied for, nor do I want any, UK holding numbers. Every farm has to have one. UK farming grants, subsidies. Every farm is also a UK limited company, a business. So farmers are some of the most controlled members of our society, and I feel that's because they're actually the most powerful. If they actually start to understand some of this, then that's going to be huge. That is what is meant. That is what I mean by being free of UK interference. I'm not tied to the UK, to the lie, to the fiction, and it cannot have control over me. I am under the Bible. Then by definition, I am under the infallible truth and a different Lord, and not King Charles. This will mean that we may have to do things differently and take more responsibility for our lives. But that is what got us into this mess in the first place, letting the government do it all and invite themselves into our lives, our businesses and our families. And now the camel is well and truly in the tent and is out of control. And we let it get this way. I will finish with a warning from the Book of Truth for those citizens and farmers who belong to the state, who are UK property, who are subjects of the king, who are involved in the lie, and who would be protesting and causing problems for the state that you said you wanted to be a part of. It's Ezra 7:26. And whosoever will not do the law of thy God and the law of the king, let judgment be executed speedily upon him, whether it be unto death, to banishment, or to confiscation of goods, or to imprisonment. The Bible, the Crown are under orders. If you're going to start rocking the boat and you're one of their toys, they're going to throw you in prison and take your stuff off you. The infallible truth states, if you are a subject of the king and do not do as the king wants, then he has every right to take your stuff and throw you in jail. You cannot do what I have done and have one foot in each camp. You cannot ride two horses. You cannot claim to be under God and the citizen of the state. That's a dog that won't hunt. You cannot farm outside of UK rules if you are one of its citizens with the UK holding number, taking UK subsidies. You have to be in or out. You are either under God or the Crown. The Bible makes this very clear at Matthew 6:24. No man can serve two masters. Lastly, I would like to thank Nicola for organising this event and inviting me to speak, John for hosting us, and thank you all for listening. I hope you find it interesting.
That was brilliant, that, Clive. Thank you. Has anyone got any questions for Clive?
Thank you, great talk. Just to see if I've understood this correctly. So I think you said that you don't own the land of your small holding, but God does. Is that correct?
Yeah, and
So
Nobody can prove that. You can't prove that your name. None of you in this room can prove to me what your name is.
Okay, so accepting that, and accepting that you said, I think, that the council are responsible for serving the people, is that correct? Then how would you defend it if the council then took it upon themselves to serve the people by building a large homeless accommodation or migrant accommodation
Good point.
On your smallholding?
Really good point. Now, I'm in a position, as one of the people, that's such a good question, because I've asked myself that very thing. And I probably think I'd jump in a JCB and go and bulldoze it. But that, I'll get back to the legal point, is the council are accountable. I am one of the people, like, they've accepted it. I've done what I've done. I'm out in the public now. I've moved on from the council battles a long time ago. I've moved on to other things since then. But there's no question that the council are accountable to me, and I'm one of the people. Like, we've had that fight. They're not going to fight me about that anymore. So if, I've already had this discussion with my wife. What happens if one of these camps that they want to put in every village popped up in my well, I'd go and see the council, and I'd have to put that right, wouldn't I? Well, for the same reason that they've left me alone I built what I put in quotes as a farm at my place. They're accountable to me. So I'm above the council in the hierarchy of law and governance. As one of the people, it's the highest position at law you can be in. So I believe that I'm in a position, I haven't tested it. And like a lot of this stuff, I was just a carpenter. Like, I know this because I've gone and done it. But I haven't yet had this chat with the council about going on the offensive. So it's such a good question you made. For a long time, I've been on the defensive. You know, they brought the fight to me, and I was like, how do I win this? But a few people know about the offensive. I have started to go on the offensive, and it's very interesting. So I know that as one of the people, you're in a very strong position, and that's an interesting question, which I think, I haven't tested it yet. I only talk about things that I've tested. So I haven't tested that yet, but I believe I'm in a real strong position, and I don't believe that'll be happening near me. But we'll see.
Hi, my name's Gary.
Gary.
I'm a chartered surveyor and builder, and unfortunately author. In property law, we're taught that there are two types of property ownership. There's fee simple absolute in possession, which is leasehold, and term of years absolute. But there's a big secret within that, because in old times, the government used to call us fee simple male tail, meaning a man's appendage, or fee simple tail. That's where you get the term, he's always chasing tail. If you write to the state and say you're no longer fee simple male tail, or no longer fee simple tail, they automatically have to recognise you as a man or a woman, and then it's over, it's done.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a problem with that, because there's only two owners on earth. Two, that's it. God and the Crown. The Crown own all titles, and you're talking about allodial titles and fee simple. These are all legal terms, and as you said, the government calls you. If the government calls you something, that means I call my dog what I call my dog because I'm its owner. I'm the boss of that. So if the government are calling you something and you're reacting to it, that means you're over here on the Crown. And allodial titles, I've heard about all the allodial, and I've heard about private trusts. Again, there's only two owners, and I don't pay tax. Like, go and see me dad. He owns everything. I make a quip about it, but it's true. The Crown own everything that's legal, and God owns everything that's real. The legal system is a system built on fictions, on lies. And we beat lies by telling the truth. Like the Bible's it's very powerful.
When I did it, I handed in my passport, and they gave me a document to travel freely as a man.
Right, yeah. I mean, again, it can go on. I mean, again, I had a 1 hour chat, and that's just a small snippet of what I decided, because I had farmers in mind, because I knew, well, I kind of guessed there'd be a lot of people putting their hand up who believe that they live in the United Kingdom, and I know that's a lie. And hopefully you guys now, whether you believe me or not, but you can go away and have a look at it yourselves. Like, I proved it easily just on the webpage that I provided here with this talk. And knowing that information has helped me to go around the country helping farmers. Like, that's why the council left me alone. I was like, don't confuse me with the legal lot. I'm over here. Take your United Kingdom stuff and leave me alone. And they did. And yeah, so it's important stuff. And also, sorry Gary, it's in their constitution as well. Don't take my word for it. I've pointed it out in their own constitutions.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you.
Hi. So did you not buy the land?
Yeah, so Jesus said, be in the world and not of the world, okay? So again, like, all of these aspects have huge... The Crown know that the birth certificate name is not you. They even printed it in large bold print on the bottom of that document. Nobody's arguing that it's not you. We just believed it was us. So we committed the fraud. It's when you believe that that is you and live under... That's the problem. I feel that this birth certificate is that it is a bond. Now, a bond can work both ways. It can enslave you, or it can serve as a tool. Well, I believe it's a tool. It's on bonded paper. I believe it's a financial instrument. And I only talk about the things I've done. I'm getting to that point to see whether that actually works, as a financial instrument.
Okay, but I still don't get it. So you've just
Right, yeah.
taken over land?
I know, I think I understand your point. So you're going to need to use, like Richard at the moment has just used solicitors to go and get the title which allows him access to God's earth.
Yeah.
So you are going to need to be in the world, but not of it. It's the easiest way I can explain it.
Okay, I'll mull on that.
Sorry, Clive, I'm new to all this and I'm trying to get my head around it.
No problem.
Are there any consequences for doing what you've done? Like, can you fly? Can you travel? If I've got 2 properties and I want to sell them, I won't legally earn them, will I? So what do I do with that?
Yeah, like farmers are going to have... Like farmers have got a choice to make, I think. I feel, and I'm quite ignorant to the whole farming thing really, is like in my mind, there are 2 scales of farmers. There are massive industrial farming, and there's probably people like John, I don't want to paint him with something he's not, but like a smaller scale farmer who's more involved with the community. Now, if you're a huge corporate farm, then you're in that legal system and you need that legal system. But someone like John could step right out of it. Now, it doesn't come without any consequences. You're going to have a fight. They're going to have to test you because, for the same reason, I was chatting to Frog over there about skydiving. I can't really claim to have jumped out of a plane and be a skydiver if I'm strapped to him, being ex-forces. And it's the same with a judge. I can't walk into court with you and hold your arm, which I've done to people before, and the security will prize us apart. Because the judge wants to know what your belief is, not what my belief is. I've already been tested. I've changed my mind. And a judge's job, because there's a maxim of law that says judges judge for God. A judge, to be able to put his head on his pillow at night, has to work out whether you're one of these lying citizens or whether you've had a change of mind and are under a new God. Because in either camp, you're a servant in whatever camp. So everyone wants their rights. I don't want rights.
That's where I'm stuck, because would I earn the profit? Can I sell my properties? Can I travel? Would I not have a driving license?
You can do that.
What's the consequence? That's what I was thinking.
Again, it goes back to that point that the Crown already know that all of their documentation doesn't equate to you. There's no argument with that. Like, I've had that argument with them. Do you know what I mean? We believe that it's our stuff, our identification, our car, our this, our that, and then they tax you for it for being a liar. That's just the bottom line.
So you can travel, you can
Yeah.
own properties.
Well, I run a business. I do it slightly differently than others, perhaps. I haven't got a limited company set up, but I don't need to. Like I said, I don't have all the answers because I haven't done everything. I can only speak about what I've done. But like these farmers, they can get rid of or adjust their businesses, because most farmers, they're VAT registered, or their house is the business address, which means effectively, it doesn't obviously often happen, but you can get a knock at the door from someone who wants to check your books, in essence. And also, it's Crown land, like DEFRA can turn up any time and shut the place down for whatever reason, and that's a problem for farmers. They're going to have to change that if they want to survive. And I'm talking about freedom. I'm not talking about half measures. I can keep whatever animals I want. I can pretty much do what I want without being an idiot. You know, the highest law in the Bible is like love your neighbour. So I'm not going to be a problem to my community, but I don't have to ask the government for nothing. And that is a mindset change that you know, quite a few people struggle with.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
So one more question.
Okay, now time to hassle you. So as a farmer, I have to engage in commerce outside. So if I have calves that I need to sell into the market, I need to have...
They got you strapped down, haven't they?
This is the problem.
Yeah.
And until enough farmers are out of that system that we can trade. So, you know, subsidies are exactly the same issue. So at the moment, I need those subsidies to be able to survive in the financial world. I'm VAT registered. All of my, everything I buy, I can get VAT back from. And most of what I sell isn't VATable. I mean, it's a great way of holding on to you. Because you know, we are.
They got you. Farmers are so controlled, as you well know. You have to, all your cows are tagged when they're born. They got their own passports.
Yeah.
But we all know a farmer that can sell the odd cow. But this is what this, if you want to call it a community, whatever this is where it starts to change. Because unless there's a community that is outside of the crown, then it can never flourish into whatever. How we used to be probably 100, 200 years ago, whatever, I don't know. But
so I think what everybody here is probably feeling the same as me is how do you get to that state? How do you, and like Lady has said about buying, you know, if I can, I'm going to buy other farms and replicate what I do.
Yeah.
So I still need to step in because these solicitors, trying to get these solicitors to not register your land on the land registry. So what have you done with your land registry?
It's all land registered, but
you're still on the land registry. Does that not mean that then, if your land is registered, that
this system works perfectly. It all depends on who your dad is, right? They know who my dad is. Over here, King Charles is the father of the nation. That's his title, father of the nation. That's why you're treated like infants. That's the facts of the matter. So once you know who your dad is and what your name is, because your dad names you on this side and your dad names you on that side. You're Mr. John Cook, is it? Yeah. So they write to you all the time as Mr. John Cook. So do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
If you get your name right and the jurisdiction right, everything else falls into place.
So you can do both effectively.
Like, I could get one of your cows. You could give me one of your cows, and it would be untagged. Mm-hmm. I could have a herd. No one's going to take that herd off me.
So let's say I want to go and slaughter a cow. It has to go into their system.
This is where we have to think differently.
Because I don't have a slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
And I'd love to home kill.
There's nothing to stop me slaughtering my animals.
No, and there's nothing stopping me slaughtering mine.
There is at the moment because you're over here. So there's rules. There is rules in place.
No, I can slaughter my own, own consumption.
Right, yeah.
But
so that's a legal policy.
I'm not allowed to sell it to you. So it has to go through the abattoir system so it can be certified and checked.
None of that stuff matters over here. You are already a conscientious farmer. You've already spoke about all the cleanliness and all that. Again, you mentioned it in your own talk. Like, you go out of business if your product was, and that will naturally happen.
Yeah.
If you're a crap farmer or selling crap produce, you're not going to have any customers.
So this is why I think that it won't be the farmer of today that is currently farming will be the farmer of the future, because you guys will have to get a farm so I can sell my animals to you. And do you understand what I mean? You? No, you're not going to find them.
I don't think it works that way. Because once you've stepped...
Get on the microphone, Richard. Share the microphone together.
Well, I don't think it works that way at all, because you can step out. Once you've stepped out and you realise what jurisdiction you're under, you're not under all that. You keep saying, well, I'm not allowed to do all this, but you keep putting the limits on what you're not allowed to do, because somebody else has told you all these permissions that you have. But once you've stepped over here, that's gone.
It takes a change of mind, and it really is. It's a battle for the mind.
But I understand what you're trying to say. But if I need the facilities for the slaughterhouse to get the meat back to me, I have to step into their jurisdiction, unless I can find another way.
Well, unless like you do with the milk, you slaughter. You sell the meat yourself. But again, this is the bit that I haven't done because I haven't done it. But if I was a farmer doing what you're doing, that's what I would do. No one's going to stop me doing it.
For instance, this year.
This is the stuff that Dolores talks about coming together in community and starting to build your own things, build your own ways of exchange and barter rather than having to go through the system. So find somebody who will build a slaughterhouse or just exchange between, so you do your slaughtering, but exchange. So I think that's where we're sort of thinking about how we head towards that system.
So it's the transition which is the hard bit.
Yeah, 100%.
So obviously we've got people that are going to, I'm going to take my farm out of the system. Of course I am. But I've got a really good example now. I'm now in crisis that I don't have enough forage to get all of my animals through the winter. I can't just grow them and kill them for beef in two years.
No.
I literally cannot get through the winter.
Yeah, that's not a government problem, is it?
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Maybe it depends what they're spraying.
True.
That's a different discussion. But so most of the farmers in the south are now in crisis, and they are sending animals to the abattoir. If I take myself out of that, I don't have the option.
You had a great analogy earlier when we were chatting down at the tent there about divorce.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I went through some rough times. I went through some rough times. If you want to be free, you're going to have to face the fire. They've only got to light a fire and say it gets a bit hot there, and everyone goes, oh, no, it's too hot. You've got to walk through it if you want to be free. If freedom means you're not going to be free just because they threaten you with court, then you're never going to be free. But I'm not...
The table of truth, this is brilliant stuff for that. So let's take a 10-minute break.